wonderful. And Justice Center, I mean, we're under budget right now, anyway, and everything is going well, and thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, in addition, I'd like to echo what has already been said, but I know when I was newly elected, which isn't, I'm not so new anymore, your willingness to take the time to educate me, to get me up to speed, early morning calls, emails, always timely, and I really appreciate it. I think I've learned so much under your leadership, but my family has been here since the 50s, and I'm really appreciative of your efforts and everything that you've done for our community. We wish you the best of luck.
Okay, well, that's really great to hear. Thank you guys very, very much. I really appreciate it. And I just want to say one more thing about the Justice Center, and it was because of all you folks and the council before you that made that a fruition, but you've heard me talk about the project team, and that's, of course, the owner and the contractor and the design architect. And you talk about how successful those projects can be. And there's one component that nobody really talks about, and that's the internal customers here. And all I can say, it's been really professional and exciting to work with Chief May, because, you know, when I got to do this project and we moved ahead with this, we got to talk with many public safety officials, and I can confirm that he is an expert in this. Without his help and support and working with me in this project, it would never be at this point at this particular time. So I need to thank the Chief for being my great partner in this project, as well as all of you.
Are you sure you want to leave?
Thank you.
You guys good?
Thank you.
Good. Okay. This is for you, and I think it has a few of your favorite things in there. And I just want to say that I will miss your friendship, and I hope to run into you in Massachusetts one day. And I'm sorely going to miss this man because he's probably the only other Patriots fan within like 200 square miles. So he's been my friend. We could always talk Patriots. And now I don't have him, so I don't know what I'll do. Anyway, thank you so much.
I'm shocked that she admitted that.
I know, me too. Yeah, anyway. Thank you, David, so much for everything. Yeah, you can take that.
No, you need to come by here first so we can see what our favorites are.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice.
Well done, David. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have proclamations, and I will start. Here it is. With National Service Recognition Day. Whereas service to others is a hallmark of the American character, and municipalities are increasingly turning to national service and volunteerism as a cost-effective strategy to meet city needs, and whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps participants address the most pressing challenges facing our communities, from educating students for the jobs of the 21st century and supporting veterans and military families to provide health services and helping communities recover from natural disasters. And whereas national service expands economic opportunity by creating more sustainable, resilient communities and providing education, career skills, and leadership abilities for those who serve. And whereas AmeriCorps and Senior Corps participants serve in more than 50,000 locations across the country, bolstering the civic, neighborhood, and faith-based organizations that are so vital to our economic and social well-being. And whereas national service represents a unique public-private partnership that invests in community solutions and leverages non-federal resources to strengthen community impact and increase the return on taxpayer dollars. And whereas in 2017, the Adams East Arapahoe Retired and Senior Volunteer Program, RSVP, provided 576 volunteers who served 106,128 hours, performing 85 different volunteer jobs. 83 Northglenn RSVP volunteers served 15,993 hours to improve the quality of life in our community. And whereas the Corporation for National and Community Service shares a priority with mayors nationwide to engage citizens, improve lives, and strengthen communities, and is joining with the National League of Cities, Cities of Service, and mayors across the country to recognize the impact of service on the Mayor's Day of Recognition for National Service on April 3rd, 2018. Now, therefore, I, Carol Dodge, Mayor of the City of Northglenn, Colorado, hereby proclaim April 3rd, 2018 as National Service Recognition Day in the City of Northglenn and encourage residents to recognize the positive impact of service in our city and thank those who serve and to find ways to give back to their communities. Dated at Northglenn, Colorado, this 26th day of March 2018. And this will be presented, this will be sent to the Senior Hub, to Mr. Tom Rapp, who everybody knows, and he is the program director there of the Retired and Senior Volunteer Program. So we will send this to Tom. Then I have one other proclamation. I'm going to read it, and then I'll have you come up here. How's that? So you don't have to stand through the whole reading. This is for Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Whereas every day, women, men, and children across Colorado suffer the pain and trauma of sexual assault that is experienced by survivors and affects our Colorado communities. And whereas this crime occurs far too frequently, goes unreported far too often, and leaves long-lasting physical and emotional scars. And whereas during National Sexual Assault Awareness Month, we recommit ourselves not only to lifting the veil of secrecy and shame surrounding sexual violence, but also to raising awareness, expanding support for victims, and strengthening our response. And whereas sexual violence affects individuals of all ages, backgrounds, and circumstances. And whereas, as a nation, we share the responsibility for protecting each other from sexual assault, supporting victims when it does occur, and bringing perpetrators to justice. And whereas, we must work to provide necessary resources to victims of every circumstance, including medical attention, mental health services, relocation, and housing assistance, and advocacy during the criminal justice process. And whereas Colorado communities can come together to increase awareness about sexual violence, decrease its frequency, hold offenders accountable, support victims, and heal lives. Now, therefore, I, Carol Dodge, Mayor of the City of Northglenn, do hereby proclaim April 2018 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the City of Northglenn and ask all residents to take a stand against sexual assault by joining advocates and communities across Colorado and the country in taking actions to prevent sexual violence. Dated at Northglenn, Colorado, this 26th day of March 2018. And we are presenting, we have Agata Morgan, that's correct, right? Agata Morgan, and she's with the Colorado Coalition Against Sexual Assault. Agata, this will be for you. If you would like to share a few words.
Sure. Thank you. And I'm here to represent CICASA, the Colorado Coalition of Sexual Assault. And we would like to really extend a thank you because this is the second year, consecutive year that you all are helping us and provide awareness about sexual violence and sexual assault awareness, which is April, the National Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And on behalf of the staff of CICASA, on behalf of all the advocates that provide direct services to survivors of sexual violence around the state, and all the survivors, we thank you for recognizing this month as such an important action, which is to take action to prevent and have conversations around the whole world about how sexual violence really affect the survivor, but also affect us, all of us, the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your hard work. We appreciate you being here. All right, we will move into presentations, and first we have the Metro North Chamber of Commerce update with Mr. Greg Moss. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Madam Mayor. Councilors, it's an honor to be in front of you tonight, and staff, thanks for having me. My name is Greg Moss, the new President and CEO of the Metro North Chamber. I can wear that moniker, I think, for another 2 months. Is it 6 months or a year? 6 months, then I've got 30 days left, so I'll wear it proudly. I've got a brief presentation that I want to impart with you tonight to tell you a little bit about some of the improvements and enhancements that we're making. Jim, I may need your help. This is why you never ask a TV guy to run the electronics. Thank you. You have a copy of this, I believe, in front of you, though. Oh, thank you. Down moves it forward. Down is forward? Little arrow. Okay, there we go. Perfect. First of all, I just wanted to thank you all for your partnership. We truly value our partnership with the City of Northglenn, and it's been a long-standing relationship. We are proud to have Jem on our board, giving us some strategic insight and certainly increasing our involvement here in the City of Northglenn. Our mission, as we have stepped into this, as an organization that's been around since 1959, we recognize that it's always a good thing to kind of take a close look at what you've been doing and where you have been, where you are today, and more importantly, where you want to go. So we've reinvigorated our mission to engage diverse, vibrant businesses and communities to create a prosperous and growing regional economy. And we do that by focusing on our members' businesses to make them more successful, and in doing so make Northglenn, in this case, the best place in the country to live, work, and grow a business. Because we do believe in the greatness of our members, that they can achieve anything that they want to, and we are here to help them do that by providing the resources, relationships, and results. Those are really the three basic points of our foundation as we move forward. And let me just tell you what we've finished completing. Over the last 60 days, we have just done qualitative and quantitative research of all of our stakeholders, including member businesses, municipalities, state representatives, elected leaders. We've had over 280 written surveys returned to us and more than 24 face-to-face, one-on-one, hour-long conversations with our stakeholders, asking them, what could we do better? What are we doing really great? And what more services do you need? So as we're leaning into this, we just got those results in the last 3 days. So some of what you see here will be a little more enhanced in the weeks to come. And we'll be presenting that to our board here coming up very soon. But I'm very excited to say that we exist to make our businesses more successful. And the how we do that is through our core values, which is doing what's right, making an impact, getting it done, and never stop pushing. One of the consistent themes that we saw in the research that we heard back from our stakeholders and constituents, and you know, when you ask people what do they think of how you're doing, they will tell you. And some of it's been really good. All of it's been really good. Some of it has been very eye-opening. And quite frankly, as a chamber, as a regional chamber and one that's really devoted to Northglenn, we need to do a better job in some areas. So we've come up with these 5 areas that we are focusing in on this year, and we'll enhance those even more as we move forward into 2019. It's an acronym because I can't really remember anything without an acronym called REACH. The R stands for REACH. Pretty clever. It's marketing and communications, really speaking with a bold voice. This is a copy or a sample of the format of a magazine that we'll be launching. The first issue will drop in August. It will be called Connecting Metro North. It'll be featuring all of our communities that we serve, including Northglenn, and really taking a closer look at what's going on from the economic development standpoint and telling the stories of our businesses. I picked this sample because this is from Southwest Louisiana, and those of you who know me, I'm from New Orleans. Go Saints. So this is a really cool little format that is part of the benefits of your membership with us. You'll have the opportunity to advertise in that magazine for free, and also we'll be telling again the stories of what's going on in Northglenn. The REACH also includes more marketing and promotions that are targeted to support small businesses. We're doing that through geo-targeting, through direct mail, through social media, Facebook. We have added some staff on the digital media side that's now helping us do that. And we look forward to expanding that even more in the year ahead. The education piece is really empowering people, especially small business owners, with the ability to perhaps find out more about marketing on social media. We will walk them through that and how we actually will work with one of our folks to come up with a plan for them to do that themselves. We're partnering with the SBDC as well as your economic development folks are too, but we're expanding our classes now to be over 12 a year, and we're also launching the first time ever in the North Metro area the Small Business Administration's Emerging Leaders Program, which will kick off here in 2 weeks. And I think we're going to have some representation from Northglenn. Not official yet, but we're pretty optimistic about that. So lots more education coming down the pike there. Advocacy is something that we have done on a pretty consistent basis for all the many years that we've been here. We have lobbyists down at the State House. Some of you are part of our Business and Government Affairs Committee, and we're pretty proud of being the voice of business, and we hope to do more of that at the municipal level and working in partnership to bring divergent groups together and help educate what's going on. Collaboration is certainly a big piece of what we do. We will look for partnerships all the time, and we are, as I mentioned, partnering with SBDC more consistently and frequently, but also some strong partnerships with SBA and SCORE. And I can't speak enough about the partnership that we have with your economic development team, Debbie, and everyone involved. It's been a really, really good partnership. And then health, for obvious reasons, the healthier a community is and the healthier businesses are, not only from a physical standpoint, but from a financial standpoint, we all benefit from that. So again, bold, creative, and assertive communications through social media, streaming, our magazine. We also are doing TV. Well, I don't know why, but we're doing TV. Monthly features and week-long specials. We are twice a month on 9 News, and we are featuring some businesses from Northglenn, and we will actually be featuring a business from Northglenn during Small Business Week as we do a week-long call-in. Education, empowering people through our LeaderCast, our Leadership Metro North, our peer mentoring, which will be launching in 2019. That's 4 hours once a month for 4 months, specifically designed for medium to medium-large companies. Speed mentoring, Ignite program, which is an accelerator program and primer workshop series, which will be launching in 2019. Again, especially focused on upper-end smaller businesses looking to take off on their second stage. Our ongoing leadership program is expanding. We are looking at launching a STEM event with our local schools, specifically the STEM school, and having a STEM experience. We have just launched our Education and Workforce Development Council as part of our Development Council to help us with that. And something kind of unique for this area called Principal for the Day, where we will be taking business owner or large company CEOs and partnering them up with a school to actually shadow a principal to find out what it's like and hopefully build some long-term relationships with those businesses. We talked about the advocacy piece, our forums, our receptions with the legislators, our politics and pancakes will be launching in 2019. Stay tuned for more on that because we just love pancakes and sausage. The collaboration piece, again, I talked a lot about this, but I would love to talk to you about the Rev MNCC, which is dedicated to growing entrepreneurial businesses. This will be a specific one-day symposium that's dedicated to really launching people who have an interest in starting their own companies. And the Day of Service will be launching on our health side here. We will launch our first Day of Service on September 11th, which is the National Day of Service. And we'll be doing a project on the east side of I-25 and on the west side of I-25. And so if you have some ideas about on this side, please let us know. We'd love to talk more about that. Currently, and you've got a little bit of information right now, we've actually streamlined our membership levels. The City of Northglenn is currently at what we call the executive partner level, which is awesome, and we certainly appreciate that. And we had talked a little bit about, with Debbie, the opportunity to move to a trustee level for a little bit more investment, which will get you a lot more opportunities that actually the investment payback is about double what it would be at that level, which is very, very good. But it includes a pay-it-forward membership for a local nonprofit that is basically gifted in your name for a membership into the chamber. We have the advertisement and sponsorship opportunities in the magazine, but also including our signature and chamber investor events. That would be 4 of those total throughout the year, which will give a lot more brand recognition to the city, and discount pricing to all of our other chamber memberships as well. So basically, when you aggregate what the city has been spending as its investment thus far, it actually comes out a lot less expensive and a good, we think, a good investment. Some of you may have heard that we have launched a community chamber within the regional chamber concept in the city of Thornton. We were asked by BTAC, the Businesses of Thornton Advisory Commission, to consider this. This was on my second day on the job. And so what did I know? I said, sure, why not? But it has really been a wonderful opportunity for us to get more focused on the community itself and work more closely with those businesses and really dive into some more very specific events for the community itself. And so although we're just a few months into it, it's been very successful. And what we had talked about with Debbie and Jim is that if Northglenn ever had that desire or wanting to find out more about that, we would certainly welcome the opportunity to talk more about it. I would say give us about a year or so to get all the bugs worked out, but it's really 2 chambers for the price of 1, and businesses are really very receptive. So again, that's all I wanted to talk about as far as the formal presentation, but thank you again for all you do for the business community, for allowing us to partner with you, not only in various ribbon cuttings and business after hours, but on transportation committees and other forums that really help build this community and move it forward. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions or thoughts or comments.
Questions for Greg? Yeah, Julie.
Mayor. I think that you guys have a lot of great things coming up, and that's really exciting to see, especially in 2019. Thanks. Awesome. One of the things that I was curious about is there anywhere on your radar, and maybe this is through the Emerging Leaders Program or not, where you're really focusing on building entrepreneurs, especially women of color in the community?
I'm so glad you asked that. We have just started a council, and if you'd like to get involved with that, we would love that. Under our development council, it is called Women in Business and Leadership. We will be hosting and producing the Women of Distinction Awards, the first time this chamber has done that, coming up in August. We hope to have a lot of representation there, a very diverse crowd as well. And then in 2019, it is our goal to expand that even further. So we want to get one good, solid event under our belt, but really launch a whole series of programs that we would probably have on a quarterly basis. That would be salons, meetups, and forums, culminating in that event every year. So we'd love to really have you involved. I'm not just saying that. It would be good, yeah.
Awesome, good to hear, thank you.
And I'll just be very honest with you, in part of our analysis and our research, we are nowhere near where we need to be in representing our communities as it relates to diversity. Nowhere near. So it's a big goal for ours.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Greg? No. Well, thank you, sir, for the
Well,
presentation.
you've been an easy crowd. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
You gave us food for thought, right? Okay, we have another presentation this evening. It is the E470 Express Toll Education Campaign with Cheryl, is it Machado? Or
Machado.
Machado.
Portuguese.
All right.
I look Portuguese, I know, right? Well, good evening. Thank you guys for having us. I see a few familiar faces in the room. Joyce, I saw you the other day, so she said, do I have to come tonight? And I said, yes, you do. So thanks again for having us. I work for GBSM. I'm a communications consultant. E470 has been a client for us for about 1.5 years now, and we really tackled an educational campaign. We recognized early on, as we were out working with stakeholders and constituencies, I think we're both touching the same button.
Okay, I'm just thinking you moved that error out there.
Okay. No. Let's see. No.
You just scroll down.
There's multiple options here. Stand by.
Stand by, stand by. Let me get about this screen first. Okay. You stay there.
So Greg, did you break my presentation? That was just rude.
Okay, just one more.
Okay, there we go. Now, which button do we want to go?
Okay,
One more.
one more?
So this
Down
is,
one more?
we click one, right?
Yep.
This is all we have to do to click?
Yep, go do it.
Roll.
Slap.
There we go.
There we
Okay,
go.
great.
Snap.
Thank you. Technical difficulties here. So as we were out in the communities working with stakeholders and educating people about E470 and Express Toll, we recognized there is a lot of unknowns about tolling in Colorado. Tolling is growing at an exponential rate. The number of transponders on the road, we have surpassed over 800,000 customers. We have 1.6 million transponders in the state of Colorado right now, and that number is growing annually. So we really felt like we owed it to our customers to come out and be a resource and share information and answer questions. So I want to get through this tonight quickly to allow the council members who've been so gracious to have us here tonight an opportunity to ask questions that you feel your constituents might not have readily available, that you can hopefully be a resource and help us share information. The bigger picture is mobility in Colorado. Getting up here tonight was a challenge. I took the express lanes. I'm a great customer. But we are faced with mobility challenges daily, getting to and from our destinations, getting our children to and from school, getting to work, getting home, getting to sporting venues. 100,000 people are moving to Colorado annually. a lot of them right here in Northglenn. You've got tolling all the way from downtown Denver up to 120th now. That's going to continue. The next phase has been approved and is going into construction. So tolling is going to become more of a conversation. I always tell people it's not about tolling, it's about a choice. And if I have my way, I would like to change the name of the program to Choice Roads, not Toll Roads, but right now I'm losing that battle. But it is a choice. So people have the option to use the roads or not. If they choose not to, you should still thank the customers that are, because those are vehicles you're not competing with in the general purpose lanes that are free. So it is a choice. And interoperability, that's the larger picture from the Mountain Express lanes up on heading up to Idaho Springs, soon to be I-70, soon to be C-470. There's interoperability that's going on with Northwest Parkway, with Plenary Roads Denver, with CDOT, with HPTE. So we are all synergistically going to be connected under the umbrella, and have been since 1991 when the express tolls first started under E-470. We have gradually become to be more connected and interoperable with other transportation providers. So just a real quick background about E-470. We are the 47-mile beltway around I-25, starting in Douglas County, connecting all the way up to Thornton, right at 120th. We are a user-financed highway. We do not receive any local, state, or federal funding. We are a political subdivision of the state. We are governed by, we have 16 members on our board. 8 of those are voting members. So those are designated for the municipalities and organizations that reside within the Beltway: the town of Parker, Douglas County, Thornton, Brighton, we have Adams County, we have on the board Aurora. Some of our non-voting members include DRCOG, CDOT, RTD, HPTE, and CDOT, the town of Lone Tree. So there are lots of entities that are involved with E-470 that help govern our 47 miles. We opened our first segment in 1991. We converted to all-electric tolling in 2009. That's a mechanism for safety and reliability. You don't have to stop and throw your quarters in like you do back east. I'm looking at you in Boston. Because we have converted, and we were one of the first in the country to do that. So it increases your travel times as well. The bond debt is about $1.5 billion. That is scheduled to be paid off by roughly 2041. Annually, our bond payment is about $100 million a year. We've been successfully able to repay that bond annually. We have an opportunity to level off that debt in 2020. I will answer the question now, do tolls go away in 2041? The answer, unfortunately, is no. There's a perpetual maintenance fund that will kick in. That is to guarantee the same level of service so we can continue to widen the road where it needs to be widened, provide snow removal, lighting, maintenance of the roads, and that entire operating system. The bond, the rating updates, we are gradually increasing our ratings. We've got an A- with S&P and Fitch, and we're working to get all of our bond debt updated. Traffic trends, real quick, we can see that people are definitely using the highway. As you look at this very complicated data, I'm not a big fan of doing data in presentations, but Tim Stewart, our executive director, loves this slide, so I leave it in for him. In the thousands, you can see annually the number of transactions. If you look at the blue line on the top, exponentially we are increasing, and I've got some stats at the end to show you. But from the inception back in 2009, the trend is more people are choosing tolling. Toll adjustment for 2018, we actually for the first time ever lowered and froze our tolls. So through 2020, starting this year, for 3 years, we will not be increasing the rates on the tollway. That was implemented in January of this year. Actually, at Toll Plaza C over by Pena, we recognized the need to actually lower the toll. So it dropped by a quarter. So we all got a payday if you use that road. License plate tolls, I will encourage you to encourage your constituents. Do not pay more to use the road because you won't pick up the phone or get on your website and get yourself a free transponder. Yes, you do have to pay $25 and have a credit card to set up your account. They will gladly deduct that from your account for you every time you use the road. Isn't that nice of them? If you have a license plate toll, however, because of the fact we have to look up your license plate, send it to the DMV, cross-reference that that is in fact your car and you are the registered owner, then send you a bill, possibly a second bill, possibly a third bill. You may never pay it. Now it goes into collections, adjudication. Many of our license plate tolls, long story, are never collected. So there is a higher toll that is assessed to license plate customers. Right now we're at about 25% higher premium, and that is going up. So you can easily convert to a license plate toll, to an express toll account. What are we doing with all of the tolls that we collect every year? We are reinvesting in the toll roads, wrong way driver prevention, cable barrier. I like to tell this story because I have family members that have been involved in accidents, and head-on collisions just don't, unfortunately, ever work out really well for people. So cable barrier protection keeps people on their side of the road. If there was an incident, if you hit the ditch, if you hit another car next to you, the statistics show that your chances of survival are much higher. If you go into the other lane of traffic at a high rate of speed, the statistics are not as safe. Safety is a big feature of E470. We are one of the safest roads in the entire state and in the country. The safety and reliability ratings that we receive are significant. I like to have a peace of mind when I'm driving on the road that it's fast. I know I'm going to get there. Not that I speed or I'm late, but it's nice to have that as an option, as well as that safety feature. Technology upgrades. How do we make all of these systems talk together? Through improving our technology consistently over and over and over and staying up to date with that. And the routine road maintenance. I'm going to just start breezing through some of these. We are engaged with CDOT, with Road X, autonomous vehicles. I'm sure everybody saw Revo 25 and the spaceship-looking car. It's unreal that this is actually things that we're involved in, but transportation and solutions, it's coming. We've been a good neighbor through some of the changes coming on with the removal of the highway expansion fees. That's for people that were developing along the corridor. We actually waived those last year, and those will not come back. Road widening. The next couple slides are important because as we see growth happening, we are self-funding projects. We just completed in Douglas County a 8-mile stretch between Quincy and Parker Road. We started in May, we ended in December. And the reason why is when you travel on the toll, you're paying. You expect a pretty decent level of service. If you're going to get on the road and you're waiting, it's frustrating. So the level of service that we guarantee, when we get to a C rating on any of our roads, like an F, that's the mousetrap, that's I-25 at about 4 to 6. And that's an F. You're not moving. There's a forced flow with demanded, the volumes are higher than the capacity of the roadway. So when we get to a level C on our roads, we start planning for expansion. And that's what happened in Douglas County. I don't know if there's a pointer on here. Looking up on in the very bottom, you see we're projected about, right now we have about 52,000 vehicles a day in the south. By 2040, that number will almost double to 93,000. That's why we widened, because projected growth means the roads are going to become more crowded. Now, up in your neck of the woods, right now you're at about 31,000 vehicles per day at that economic, if you look at that traffic projection. By 2040, you'll be at about 56,000. So the big takeaways on this screen is the north end will be as busy as the south end is today by 2040. So the growth is happening. Employment in the E470 area is forecast to grow by 44% compared to about 29% in the Denver area. So all this open country on the Beltway, it's going to be developed. People are coming to E470 every week, every month with propositions, put in a new interchange. I want to bring my employee. Amazon just opened at I-70. And you see the growth that's happening because there's opportunity out there. So we want to be ready for it, and we want our customers to continue to have that same level of service. New interchanges, we just approved our master capital plan in December. There's expansion happening. We're looking at some new interchanges in there, $90 million, 38th, 48th, 88th, 112th. So people want access to be able to get on the toll road. So it's coming. It's not a set in stone when and what date and where, but we've got about $1.8 billion in estimated cost for improvements. This is interesting, and I know I'm running out of time. I want to be respectful of the council. So just the big takeaway here is if we did not have E470 on the road, this was an economic impact study a third party conducted for us. We hired CH to conduct this for us. 14.8 million hours are saved on E470, whether you're driving it or not, in the state in 2016. $38.4 billion in real estate along the corridor. 21,000 households are dependent on E470 for travel. They build houses out there, people come. They're choosing it as a lifestyle, as a choice. So the big takeaway is we're growing, we want to be responsive, we're connected. We are the one-stop toll shop for all of express tolls in Colorado. That means we're working with all of our partners. I'm going to get to this map right here. With US 36, with express lanes in progress. The yellow lines, if you see, that's C470 on the bottom left in yellow. That will be completed by next year. And that will also provide another option, a toll lane with, again, 2 general purpose lanes. I-70 to the airport, that will also offer a tolling lane soon. So we're interoperable with all of these systems, with CDOT and with HPTE and with Plenary, with Northwest Parkway. You're not getting 5 bills in the mail. You're not trying to figure out, do I have 5 transponders? Which one do I put? You know, so this interoperability is the bigger story, that it's a service that we provide to customers that choose tolling throughout Colorado. And the different transponders that are in the marketplace, we still have some of the big blocky T21s. We're phasing those out. The stickers are free. You can get one by calling our customer service center. I think I blazed through that slide. You can go online, you can call, you can email. We have 1.6 transponders in the marketplace right now with over 800,000 customers. We respond to about 116 million transactions. Call volumes were close to 1 million. Images reviewed, that's that process where they're literally looking up the license plate to send the bill, and we have about 73 million images that we reviewed last year. So with that, I felt like I sped through that. I'm happy to answer questions, and feel free to reach out to me afterwards.
All right. I have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
The first one is, a question that I commonly get is, why did C470 end up with no tolls, and after all this time on E470, we're still paying for tolls? So can you explain that? So
C470 is a state-owned highway. So that's a function of CDOT.
So it started as a toll road, and then...
And then when their bonds were paid off for that roadway, the tolling went away. With E470, because they're a user-financed highway, we're not owned by the state.
And then my second question for you is, do you have any statistics on an increase or decrease in carpooling now that we've moved it up to 3 people per vehicle?
You know, I don't, and that's a really good question. That is a function, because the HOV3 is an incentive that was provided by CDOT to get people to, get in a car and carpool. That switchable transponder that you can purchase, if you're only going to use HOV3, a new Senate bill was passed last year where you can get one for free without setting up an account if you are only going to carpool. I don't have statistics for that. It's a good question, though, and I can do a little digging and see if I can find out. I think it exists somewhere with an HPTE, though.
If you have some time.
Yeah, no, I would like to.
know.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great question.
Any other questions? No?
Well, thanks again for
Sure.
having us, and if you have any questions, Brooke knows how to get a hold of me.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Right, we will move to public invited to be heard, limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Statements shall be related to city business and limited to matters of community interest. Would anyone like to come forward? Tim, that means you? No? Okay. All right, we will move to the next item, which is the Legislative Policy Committee update. Is there a legislative?
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. We just had our legislative committee meeting tonight. There were no bills that we identified that were outside of the policy, but I defer to the committee if they want to add anything for discussion tonight.
Committee members want to share anything? No?
No, nothing really.
6 more weeks, right?
Yeah, that's it.
The legislative sessions.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we will then move to the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
Of course.
consent agenda passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right, we have one public hearing tonight, and it is CB 1904. Joanna, would you read that title, please?
A bill for an ordinance repealing and reenacting Article 20 of Chapter 16 of the Northglenn Municipal Code to conform to Section 8.17 of the City of Northglenn Home Rule Charter by creating a separate water utility and a separate sewer utility, both to be accounted for in the City Water and Sewer Utility Fund.
Thank you. I will now open the public hearing. Jim, would you like to read an overview, please?
Sure, thank you. Mayor and members of council, Joanna had read the title, and I would just provide some additional background. In 1994, the city established our water activity enterprise, and the purpose of that was for maintaining water and sewer services, operations, administration, and construction. And in 2005, Section 8.17 of the charter was added by the voters, and that section prohibits the spending of water and sewer funds, prohibits spending of water and sewer funds to being essentially commingled with general fund purposes. So cannot be used for general operations, must only be used for specifically water and sewer. Our proposal with this ordinance, which you approved on first reading, is to establish that there are two distinct functions of water and sewer operations, and then add specific language in the municipal code that restricts the spending of either of the operations funds, both pursuant to and consistent with 8.17. So the ordinance that is before you is allowing us to create the sewer fund as a true enterprise while still keeping with the spirit and intent of 8.17. And we recommend approval.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone who would like to come forward to speak for or against CB 1904? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing, and we will move to ordinance's second reading. Joanna, would you, well, you already read the title, so this, can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the item? Jen?
Thank you. I'm hoping that maybe you can help me understand. There was something on the ballot in 2017 around the sewer and water funds. Can you help me understand what that was and how that relates to this that we're seeing in front of us tonight?
What was on the ballot was to repeal Section 8.17 altogether. It is unusual to have a reference to what I would call accounting mechanisms in the charter. And so that was, I think, the previous council's intent in looking to delete the section in its entirety. That failed. And so this ordinance tries to maintain the spirit of the charter, but in accordance with state law, create the two separate enterprises, or two separate utilities, one for water and one for sewer. And the way in which it attempts to keep in accord with the language of the charter more than anything else is I would reference Section 16-20-4, which is towards the end of the ordinance. That section really restates what was the fundamental purpose of the original charter provision, which wasn't to use water and sewer dollars for other capital expenditures.
Thank you.
All right, any other discussion, questions? Hearing none, Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Thank you, please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CB 1904 on second reading passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will move to resolutions, CR 49. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution approving an agreement between the City of Northglenn and L&M Enterprises Incorporated for the Croak Reservoir Pedestrian Bridge Abutment Construction and Bridge Installation Project.
Move to approve.
Second.
Jim, can you give an overview, please?
Yes, thank you. Mayor and members of council. Again, we're recommending approval of a resolution which would authorize a contract with L&M Enterprises for the construction of the bridge abutments, as well as installation of a prefabricated PED bridge on the south side of Croak Reservoir. This is the third of 3 pedestrian bridges that need to be replaced. The bridge itself, this one is 26 years old, began settling several years ago, and we've made a lot of temporary repairs over the last few years, but it's at the point where it needs full replacement. We intended to complete this project last year, but as the abutments were being engineered, it became very clear that the cost to place the bridge was going to be in excess of the budget. So we did a a formal bid process as a result of that. And so we completed that late last year. The project itself has a total cost of around $61,000. And so I just want to clarify that in the IFB, or invitation to bid, we were looking for the purchase of the bridge and then miscellaneous expenses to place the bridge. The abutments are already incurred previously. So their bid was, they range from $31,000 to $54,000. The company in question, L&M, came back at the low end of that of $31,905. So we are recommending approval of that, as well as a 10% contingency, which would authorize myself then on behalf of the city to execute any relevant change orders up to the approved amount of $35,095.64. I want to point out that the funding for this project is coming from Conservation Trust Fund or lottery proceeds, and so we did not necessarily budget that full amount for 2018. So if you approve this tonight, we would come back and do a appropriation amendment or supplemental appropriation as part of the normal course of business we do annually.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Are there questions? Becky?
What do you attribute the huge price difference between 31 and 52? And I noticed that L&M is out of Berthoud, Colorado, but I didn't get a chance to look up the other two companies.
I'm going to have Ms. Peterson come up and answer that, if I could. Thank you.
Council, I wish I had a better answer for you. To be honest, I don't. We did get 3 bids that had a fairly wide range. 2 were at the higher end. The one we received was most in line with what we anticipated. As Jim mentioned, late last year, we originally thought we could get this in under or near the budget and tried to obtain quotes. The quotes we obtained were closer to the $30,000 range than the $50,000 range. So we were a little surprised that 2 of those bids came in that much higher.
And there was nobody local?
There was not, no. And it was a formal open bid process.
Any other questions? Julie?
So for the $25,000 that we're going to go over budget, how does that affect anything else we budgeted from that fund, or?
There's an existing fund balance there that we could draw that from without impacting any future projects.
Anyone else?
Just a quick comment that I'm really excited to see this project moving forward. I've been walking over that bridge constantly with my toddler and is definitely in need of some repairs. So I'm really glad to see this move forward.
Amanda, could you just say when the work would commence and complete?
I do not have that schedule off the top of my head. I know Dana and I have discussed it, and I can certainly provide that for you, but it's very soon. The bridge has been delivered. And we can, as soon as we can have an approved contract, they will pour those abutments and place the bridge.
You wouldn't mind sharing that with council?
Sure, I can give that to Jim to provide in a Friday update if that's okay.
Thank you. All right, any other questions?
Yeah, just that when you do finally get the dates, can you just make sure that they're blasted across social media so folks know and it's loud and clear that that'll be closed?
Of course.
Thanks.
Can I ask just another question that may not relate to this project, but how many other bridges do we have concern over?
I believe we are caught up. We did 3 last year and 1 or 2 the year before. Okay. So we've been replacing decking on bridges, and that was the original hope for this bridge, that we could replace the decking. And unfortunately, because it had sunk and deteriorated, we needed to replace the whole bridge, so that's why this one took longer.
Just to clarify, we do still have big pedestrian bridge?
Yeah,
on both sides.
Yes, sorry, and that project I think you're going to hear about a little later.
All right.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. All right, Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
Vote is open.
Please vote.
Close that vote, and CR 49 passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will move to CR 50. Joanna, would you read the title, please?
A resolution approving an agreement between the City of Northglenn and ABCO, or ABCO Contracting Incorporated, for the Marketplace Pedestrian Bridge Rehabilitation Project.
Move to approve. Jim?
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. This is a Northglenn Urban Renewal Authority project, so although that may not be clear in the memo, this is a project being funded by NURA. And so they have identified $400,000 in their budget for this project. And as you'll see from the bids and our recommendation, we came in below that. I just want to clarify the process that we followed here. Matrix Design Group was awarded a PED Bridge assessment contract in June of 2016. And as some of the council members know, there was a lot of discussion back and forth about whether or not we should replace the whole bridge, repair the bridge, or just tear the bridge down. And some of the costs of repair versus demolition were very similar. The cost to replace was in excess of a couple $1 million, and so that solution was taken off the table relatively quickly. But what we're proposing tonight is a repair of the bridge that would ensure its useful life for the foreseeable future, and that the contract that we're proposing would authorize the city and ABCO contracting for the Marketplace PED Bridge rehab project in the amount of $286,250. Also includes a 10% contingency, would bring the total amount authorized to $314,875. And I'm able to answer any questions, and I believe Mr. Weber is back there as well, who's been managing this project lately.
Thank you. Question?
So I'm going to ask my normal question. These are so close in price. What led us to go to ABCO? What is their outstanding, just because they're the lowest of them, or was there something that drove us that way?
I'll let Mr. Weber answer that. Typically, it is low bid.
This was also a bid on the bid net that we use, so we commissioned bids, and this was the low bid with the lowest responsible bidder responding. So in order to save as much money as possible and still get a good job, that's why we selected them.
Can I ask you a question now, and then I'll be done? Can we do, I mean, I know we're doing what we've done in the past, and I don't think it's working as well as we'd like it to try and get some more involvement from our residents who own companies and things like this. I mean, I don't feel that we have, in the contracts that we've awarded, even going for purchasing of cars, we've not been really able to use Northglenn businesses because they either don't do the RFP or don't, and successfully get a bid in. Can we do anything to help get the information out to our businesses? Because I can't tell you right now whether we have somebody who could do this or not.
Right. I think with vehicles, it's much easier because we have a Ford dealer in town, and when we get those state bids, it's pretty easy to see if they were the winning bidder. I think with some specialty work like this, it is difficult sometimes to find local companies that are even able to do the work. I can definitely work with our communications manager to try to promote this further. But we do not have a local preference necessarily, policy direction, but all things being equal, of course, we'd use the local contractor where we can.
We had 3 bids on the last one, 3 bids on this one. Is that like normal?
It depends on the work. I mean, consulting work, plans and things that maybe the planning department's doing, we may get 8, 10, 12 types of bids because there's a lot of different consulting firms. Mm-hmm. Some of this kind of work is very specialized, so we're going to get fewer.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions? Jenny?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm curious, as far as the folks that were selected this evening, do they have to provide any sort of references? Have they done any previous projects for the city? And what has their track record been of being completing projects on time and on budget?
I know that's a part of the whole bid process that they look at their references. I'm not sure if ABCO has done work for Northglenn before. I can certainly find out, but a part of that is checking references and making sure that they have a good work history. Otherwise, we would eliminate them before we even brought them in for consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Marcy?
I spoke with city manager about this earlier, but I just want to encourage that we go with a level of abundance of caution if we're doing any of the structural stuff and things seem like maybe we should be shutting down lanes. I mean, we had an unfortunate incident in Florida, which I realize the scale is quite different. but we do know that the bridges need some repair, and I would just like to be overabundant careful on that. And then also, any of the lane closures that do happen, I just think it's really important that we not communicate that just to our residents, but on a greater scale, since it is I-25, and we impact lots of travelers coming north and south.
I believe that whole process, we have to use signboards and all those things and plenty of advance notice that it's going to be closed and all that. And you're right, this is not a structural project. It's just really just fixing the repairs on the curbs and those kind of things, so.
Anything seems to change. I just want us to be cautious.
Sure, I understand. We don't want to see any of that.
Yes.
I just wanted to, not specific for this project, but moving forward, I think, and maybe Jim, I'll work with you on this, but understanding a little bit more about our bid process. And one thing I would like to be interested in making sure that we account for is what are the safety ratings, employee safety? Is that like something that they emphasize, and you know, some other aspects like that, into you know why we're choosing some company.
And I do want to point out one thing. That is that our bidding process does have a local preference provision in it. So all else being equal, if there is a local vendor, there is a preference in our code for the local vendor.
Thank you.
Any other? Any?
Yeah, hopefully this is the last one. Is there a distinction in terms of local vendors versus other vendors who hire local workers?
No, it is having a place of business in the city.
Thank you.
I just have a quick question about the contingency rate. So I know there's a lot of times we select the 10%, but is there something in particular why we selected 10 here, or do you think that maybe it would be higher for such a big project?
In this type of construction, 10% is typically what you would go with because of the type of work that it is.
Okay.
It's similar across most construction projects like that, unless it's very specialized in some other way.
Okay, I just wanted to check on that. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? Hearing
Thank you.
none. Joanna, would you open the vote? Thank you, Rob.
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CR 50 passes unanimously.
I realize that the voting is over, but do we know when this is going to start, Jim? Since we've approved everything?
I'm not sure off the top of my head. Mr. Rubber, do you know when we're going to commence work out there? This summer, I assume?
I believe it's end of May. I think they're waiting for school out and those type of things.
All right. We will move to CR 53. Joanna, would you read the title?
A resolution approving change order number 11 to the construction manager contract as amended between the City of Northglenn and FCI Contractors Incorporated for evidence locker upgrades for the Northglenn Justice Center project.
Move for approval. Second. Jim, an overview, please.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. I don't want to steal Mr. Willett's thunder at his very last council meeting, so I'll just touch on this briefly, and then I'll have him explain where we're at. We've added this as a resolution tonight rather than just a discussion item updating on the Justice Center, so we're doing it kind of at the same time. This resolution, though, is actually the first part of the project that is hitting contingency that is exceeding my spending authority of $50,000. So if you recall, you approved the total contract, and then any use of contingency that was going to exceed $50,000, you wanted us to bring that back. So during the project pricing phase, we were looking at these evidence pass-through lockers, and they were assigned a cost figure that essentially had a padlock, security, not really a modern tracking system or anything like that. And after a lot of consideration, I know Mr. Willett and Chief May talked, and understanding best practices, really current standards for a chain of custody include an electronic key card reader, so you can accurately see who is accessing the evidence and record all the transactions that are in the lockers. That, of course, then increased the budget or increased the amount that we would need to use of contingency by $61,000. And so we are recommending approval of that tonight. And then there's a couple other small contingency items that are also included in the log for your review. And those are on the second page of the memo shown in yellow. So we do recommend approval of this resolution. I'd have Mr. Willett come up, see if he wants to add anything about the project tonight.
Further questions?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Because you knew you had to come up here one more time, right?
I just wanted to see you again. How much of our contingency do we have left?
For this one, pending council approval, and the two minor ones with it, we'll have $328,000 left in contingency.
Awesome. And what is our status right now? What percentage are we complete?
I'd say we're probably about 80%, 85% complete.
Oh.
Yeah, and like I said, you've heard me talk about how the completeness of a set of plans, and every architect has a different sense of what 100% complete is. This building has a lot of very complex electronic components in it, and this is just one of those things in the chain of custody where the electronics in the lockers weren't caught in the bid process, and the contractor just assumed there'd be lock and key, and that just really won't meet the needs of current modern standards to track things going in and out through that area. So, hence the upgrade there, but we're still got a very significant part of contingency left in place.
David, who's going to take care of all that when you're gone?
Oh, you got plenty of good staff here. I'm just a phone call away.
Who's going to give me my wall in the big meeting room?
Well, it's still a possibility. We'll wait to the end. There's a lot of good things coming up here, and like I said, the project's going along very well, and you've heard me talk about the contractor and the team, but the weather's had a great deal to do with the progress of this building, and I'll just touch on where we are right now. And if you've driven into the site or you've been by it, we have a bottom lift of pavement on the top and the bottom parking lots, the caissons and all the wiring for the traffic signals in. Inside, it's hard to describe. They're actually doing a lot of finish work. The cabinetry's there. A lot of the all interior offices are all certainly delineated and partitioned off. So it's really coming along very quickly, and a lot of that has to do with the weather as well.
Absolutely. I don't want to step over you, but if we have, if we say we have $300,000 left in our contingency, right? Because that was in the original budget. Would then I be able to come back and talk about the sliding doors between the main meeting room?
Yeah, before I leave, I'll leave the chief with a lot of goodies for council to consider. There's plenty of things, including the petition wall, that you can consider to add to the building if you choose to do so.
Perfect. And are you coming back for the?
Most definitely.
Open you are?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'll see all council around September in the soft opening.
Okay, well, thank you for everything you've done for that fantastic job under budget. Love you.
Again, my pleasure. You're quite welcome.
Any other questions on this item? No? Thank you. Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
Close that item. And CR 53 passes unanimously.
Thank you. All right, we will move to discussion items, and first is the review of Gallagher Amendment and Tabor. Ooh, how exciting.
It's fun.
Go, Corey.
Mr. Willett on that. A couple of council members had asked just for kind of a overview on Gallagher and Tabor, and I think part of it is that certainly as to Gallagher, a lot of taxing entities you hear in today's environment, they complain about Gallagher. What does that mean? And then certainly Tabor has been a part of life in Colorado for many years now. And so you have in your packet a legal memo from my office that sort of goes into the details. But in a very general sense, the Gallagher Amendment means that since 1982, 45% of the total amount of state property tax collected has to come from residential assessment, 55% from commercial. And so on the middle of page 2, there's actually the mathematical calculation that shows why this is such a significant impact. In Northglenn, it's mitigated significantly because we are not property tax dependent. Unlike, for example, fire districts, and to a lesser extent counties that get a lot of their revenue from property tax, we get sales tax. While, again, counties, for example, get some sales tax, not nearly the amount and not nearly the ratio that municipalities get. So that's why when you hear about the impacts of Gallagher on, for example, fire districts, and that's frankly where you hear it most commonly, it is because they are dependent on mill levies. And so when you see how the ratio has to be maintained no matter what assessed values do, it shows that it has a disproportionate impact on those that are mill levy dependent. So that's Gallagher. Tabor is the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights. That's what Tabor stands for. And it became effective in 1992. And essentially it has a number of components. The first is an attempt to essentially restrict revenue to government. Now, what Tabor allows is for governments to opt out through voter approval of the revenue limitation. And so in 1994, the citizens in Northglenn did just that. So when you hear about Northglenn being, quote, de-Bruced, that means that as of 1994, the citizens in Northglenn voted to opt out of the revenue limitations, meaning if we get revenue beyond that was anticipated within the meaning of Tabor, we can keep it, and we do not need voter approval. The other part, and the part that is still a part of Northglenn's environment and will always be because it is not the type of provision you can opt out, is what requires voter approval. Any new tax, any tax increase, any extension of an expiring tax, or a tax policy change causing a net revenue gain requires voter approval. What does that mean? Certainly if you had a mill levy increase, actual increase in the rate of your mill levy, a sales tax increase, those are tax increases. The fairly recent marijuana special sales tax required voter approval. It was a new tax. And so I go through, there's over the years since 1994, several occasions where the citizens in Northglenn have approved tax increases. Sometimes I think it's helpful to talk about what doesn't require voter approval as opposed to what does, just to give examples on the other end. A couple of things that do not require voter approval, and a very recent example would be when the city did the CML standardized sales tax definitions. By the time those sales tax definitions got to you, what the city staff had to do was vet them to make sure that if the city changed its definitions, it didn't result in something that wasn't taxable before becoming taxable and resulting in a net revenue increase. That would have been a tax policy change that required voter approval. So when you see in your CML reports all the cities that are going through and doing the standardized sales tax definitions, the reason we can't, every city in the state can't just adopt the same definitions is because for some cities that would cause them to tax new things that they hadn't taxed before, resulting in new revenue, which would require voter approval. So that's why that process has been such a large process for CML. If the city enters into a multiple-year fiscal obligation as the government, that too requires voter approval. So, for example, bonded indebtedness is a multiple fiscal year obligation. Bonds standing alone, increasing debt, requires voter approval. For those of you that were here when the Northglenn Mall redeveloped to become the marketplace, the city entered into a sales tax incentive agreement with the then owner of the Northglenn Mall. And because our STEP, as it's called, Enhanced Sales Tax Program, is subject to annual appropriation, absent voter approval, the city would have to appropriate every year to reimburse the tax. Well, the then owner of the mall, Jordan Perlmutter, said, you know what? I want to take this to the voters. I want to make sure that the city is committed as a multiple year fiscal obligation to pay it back. And so the city actually put it on the ballot, and the voters of the city approved the sales tax incentive program reimbursing the marketplace for the cost of public improvements that it was being reimbursed for over the years. However, there's something called a lease purchase agreement. By definition, under Colorado law, if the city has to determine on an annual basis whether to make a payment, it is not debt that requires voter approval. So most recently, when the city bought Church Ditch Water, it entered into a lease, and each year the city makes a payment. When the city makes its last payment, it gets title. In any given year, the city can non-appropriate, and then it doesn't get the title. It would have been able to use the water, in this case, when it made the lease payments, but it doesn't have title until it makes that last payment. Even before Tabor, there was something called a lease purchase agreement. After Tabor, and you see there's a number of cases cited in the memo, that is something that is not a multiple fiscal year obligation that would require voter approval, because in any given year, the city can say, never mind. It can determine not to appropriate, and then it just doesn't get what it paid for. The other category of what would otherwise be debt that is not within the meaning of Tabor is the obligation of a true enterprise. And so what Tabor recognizes is that some functions of government can be run like a business. And if they can be run like a business, they can be operated as an enterprise and then are not subject to voter approval. In other words, if the revenues and expenses can be offset without government money, without grants, without taxes, but instead based on essentially fees for services, in that case, under Tabor, it is an enterprise and voter approval isn't required. So that's kind of in a very general sense how Tabor operates in Northglenn, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, question?
Well said, sir.
Well done.
Yeah, it was. So this is maybe a weird question, but so we have Tabor. Do any other states have restrictions called something else like we do?
I don't know if any other states have Tabor-like limitations. There are certainly states that require voter approval for certain types of debt, certain types of taxes. There are other states that have entirely different tax structures. For example, there's a state where as long as ownership is maintained, the property tax rate doesn't go up. And that's what's known as Prop 13 in California. And so you see that California is often used as an example of a state that doesn't have enough revenue generated from its tax rate. And many think that's because of Prop 13.
All right. More questions for you. You must have done a great job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Corey. All right, and we have one more discussion item tonight, and that is the Ralston House update with Rob Weber.
Good evening again, Council and Mayor. So the Ralston House is moving along. We were on site this week. Himmelman Construction is out there, and they're working with some of our own folks to relocate some of the underground wires, pipes, all those kind of things to get them out of the way of the construction. We anticipate that they should start excavation in probably the next 2 weeks. I haven't seen the construction trailer on site, but we do have a lot of people out there mobilizing. They got the fence up today to make sure that we're protecting the water plant from anybody. So the fence has been moved around the Ralston House site for the construction area. So that's all been done, and we expect it to go pretty well. So far, it's been pretty good with Himmelman. So any questions?
None.
Great.
Thank you, sir.
If you get a chance, drive by and see. We took all those trees down, which was kind of sad, but they were right in the middle of where the building's going.
I
So.
looked at those this weekend.
But we do have some trees going in when we're done, so, thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, we will move to communications, and Jenny, we're gonna start on your end tonight.
All right, I have a couple of things. One is that there will be a traffic calming meeting tomorrow at the senior center, and I believe that that's going to cover Livingston. And what's the other street? 112. Okay, great. And I would hope that folks would come out and participate in that. I've already received an email about some opinions on Livingston, so I'll be really interested to hear what other residents think. Secondly, I attended the Parks and Rec Advisory Board at the beginning of the month, and folks scheduled a greenhouse tour that's coming up. If you're interested in joining, let me know and I'll get you the dates. We also approved vendor applications for parks, as well as approved a number of fee waivers. And then we had a discussion about how I can be bringing information from council and what specifically they want to hear. And it came up that, you know, folks feel like they're doing all of this work, but they often aren't highlighted and they don't always know what's going on in other committees. And so I promised that one of the things I was going to do was start talking a little bit more in depth during my communications portion about what they're doing, so that you all know that they are working really hard and that they're doing what they said that they would. And then I also wanted to say thanks to Gerald Hunt and Karen Kofer for joining us at our last study session when we were talking about the rec center update. They came and listened in throughout the entirety of it and were really interested and involved. So thanks to them. Let's see. Also on Tabor, there's a really fantastic overview of what it is and why it's quite frankly so terrible. And that was done recently via Full Frontal with Samantha B. And that covers Douglas Bruce, and then also features Carol Hedges from the Colorado Fiscal Institute, which is just right downtown in Denver. And then finally, I was really happy to have had the opportunity to attend the National League of Cities just earlier this month. I learned more about priority-based budgeting, and then spent a lot of time with other young municipal elected officials talking about how you work against, or how you work across the many different generations, both on council and across the city. So that was really fantastic, and I know that you know, we weren't featured in the connection, but I just wanted folks to know that we were indeed there representing the city of Northglenn. So thank you.
Julie?
Yeah, so I also attended NLC, which was, you know, a great experience overall. I got to meet amazing people who are doing great work just like we are. It's really interesting to see how every city is a little different, and how, especially new, I attended some of the sessions with new elected leaders, and so how we're all kind of adjusting to the role. And some of the things that we'd like to see happen, and how do we do that. So that was really exciting, and probably one of my favorite parts was visiting the Urban Institute. I was just absolutely amazed with the work they do, and then obviously being more of a data-driven person, yes, they had graphs for everything. It's awesome. The only other thing I wanted to update on was at NADA this week, last week, we did have a really good presentation from the mayor of Commerce City talking about a project they worked on. It was, they marketed a really good sales tax, so 5 projects, 5 years for a penny, increase in sales tax. And I thought their marketing campaign was really great. It was really interesting, and they did a lot of great work with that, including the Tower Road expansion, which helps even a lot of our residents. I know I take that way to get to the airport, and then some Highway 2 improvements. So I really enjoyed that presentation.
Marcy? That's a great program.
It was.
So I attended the Starbucks grand opening on Washington and Garland. It was windy as heck out, but we still managed to make it through a picture. And then I also had an opportunity to attend the Metro North State of the Region breakfast. And there were some presentations by our neighboring cities. And I really have to just say that I was impressed with the City of Westminster's presentation about how they're accomplishing their downtown. I mean, they just did a wonderful job. All the panels did good, but I was just really excited and interested in seeing what could be possible here for us too. So it was a great opportunity to be able to attend that. And we had Tyler Carlson and developer over at Charles Farr. So sorry, I'm drawing a blank on his name. But it was great to be able to have them come out and participate in that as well. And then I wanted to give a shout out to staff. On Monday night, last Monday night, I had a conversation with Jim about something that a resident brought up, and like on Tuesday, you guys were on it, and it's always wonderful to hear from a resident when we accomplish something quickly. And I just want to say that he was really excited to see how fast we remedied that. So thank you for that. And then lastly, I just wanted to give a congratulations to Skinny Winkler on his appointment to House District 34. He's a Northglenn business owner, and I'm just hoping that he still has some opportunity to come out and stay with us at our luncheon. Okay.
I just want to remind the residents of Ward 4 to attend the traffic calming meeting tomorrow night. Jim, I drove by Huron and 104 several times today. Good job. Everybody's behaving and doing well. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. I just briefly want to say I also attended the NLC conference, and I was proud to be one of 70 Colorado delegates. We had one of the largest delegations that went to the conference. That was great. Opportunities abounded in meeting our legislators there, and I really had a good time at all of the sessions that I attended. I did attend Backpacks to Briefcases, and I was a table host. What it is Adams County students come there, and mayors, business people host the tables, and the kids get to talk to us about what they can do to get jobs, what types of skills they need, can we offer them any mentoring. So it was a great event, and I had 2 Northglenn High School kids at my table amongst all the others, so it was really nice. I also attended the breakfast. I would echo what Marcy said about the chamber breakfast. Really, the projects that they highlighted there were amazing, so I'm looking forward to seeing all those come to fruition. They were great. I volunteered at the canal cleanup, and just want to thank our just under 300 volunteers who also helped clean up the city. And I did attend the dedication of the Seeing Through Others' Eyes Spotted Owl sculpture dedication in the Northwest Open Space, and a big thank you to the Westview students and the artists for their participation in the dedication. And that's it. Becky?
We had our sponsorship meeting today, and there's actually nothing new to report on that. Rather smoothly. I just want to take a minute and just thank everybody who sent cards and letters and emails and texted me and called me on my phone just to wonder where I was, and then to check on my father with me. I just think we have a great community, and I just appreciate you all so much and caring so much about me that you actually took the time out of your day to let me know that and to tell me that you were praying for us, and I really do appreciate that. I want to wish everybody a happy Easter, a holy week for us, and I hope that you take some time to enjoy it with your family and have a fantastic holiday.
Just have one thing. The Elks Club reached out to me, and they are participating in the Memorial Day Parade, and they were wondering if there was any council that wanted to ride on their float. So I'm just asking so I can tell them yes or no. So, yes? Yes? At least one person?
Do you have a date and time? I have
Memorial
to check.
Day Parade.
Well, I know. Is it on Memorial Day?
Yes,
I don't know when Memorial Day is, so sue me.
Just checking in.
28th.
What time?
28th. Usually, well, it's in the morning. About 10 o'clock it starts, okay. But you have to be there earlier.
Okay.
So I'll tell them yes that there is interest then. So, all right.
Yeah, just 2 quick things. Save the date, Saturday, April 7th, Glen Barn Grill. Ward 1 meeting. In addition, I'm really excited for this Saturday, Coffee with the Mayor at Atlanta Bread Company at 10 a.m. I think it's great you're doing it on a Saturday. It brings out just different families and stuff that aren't able to come during the week. That's really exciting.
That's great.
And I think that's it.
Joanna? No? Mr. Hayes?
Just a couple things. First of all, I'm going to be out of the office late tomorrow afternoon through Sunday. Chief May has volunteered or been voluntold to be the acting city manager. I promised him he would not have to run a council meeting, so
nice.
He graciously agreed. Also want to apologize in advance for a very, very thick packet next week, but a couple real important things for next Monday. We're going to be talking about the Unified Development Ordinance, but it's going to be more roll up your sleeves, talking about some specific issues that you identified and we identified during the initial steps of the process. I promised Brooke he could go first, so he'll be up first on Monday night. And then we're also doing a city council retreat debrief / follow-up. So we've taken all of the issues you identified a couple months ago at the retreat and tried to at least provide some order of magnitude on how much that would cost to do one of those ideas and a little bit of a narrative from the staff. So I think you'll find it a long document, but pretty comprehensive with all the ideas you had. And then finally, I wanted to invite Kim Ryan to come up. She's our new communications manager. We're thankful she came back for her second week. We weren't too hard on her last week, but she comes to us most recently the last 10 years as the Director of Marketing Communications for Red Rocks Community College. And so I want to have her come out tonight, introduce herself, and I think we heard some tasks tonight that we've got to work on. So, but over to you.
Much. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm really pleased to be here tonight. I've been with the City of Northglenn for exactly 1 week, as the City Manager has said, and I've had such a warm reception. Everybody here is so wonderful, and I'm really enjoying the energy here, so thank you to everybody for that. So a little bit about me. I'm from Wisconsin originally. Go Packers. And I do cheer for the Broncos. I love my Denver Broncos. My background in education, I have a journalism degree, and I also have a master's degree in marketing. And most recently at Red Rocks Community College, some of the things I'd like to share with you is that I brought the college from the analog age to the digital age. So I was able to launch content management systems, lead generation systems, catalog automation, digital signage, of course, internet advertising, and social media. So my expertise really involves like capturing the essence of a brand, whether that means great messaging, great imagery, seamless communication with people, and also developing goals to meet developing programs to meet the goals of my organization, particularly when they're quantifiable. One of my biggest success stories at Red Rocks is, it's all about enrollment, of course, at a college, and we were enrolling an advanced manufacturing program. I was able to leverage one of our major news networks, their social media, to get the word out, and we were able to get 600 unique visitors to that web page where we get started now. And the phone continues to ring for that campaign, so really excited about that. So in the coming months, and here's where I really need my notes, I am going to be launching a new website, launching the new CRM, updating the marketing plan, continue to roll out the branding, replacing signage, developing the new Inside Northglenn video series. The mayor and I donned hard hats today and got to do a video of the new Justice Center, and build social media engagement, not just numbers, but really people that are engaged with our social media, and developing a system to measure our return on investment, and starting plans to celebrate our 50th anniversary next year. I was with Red Rocks 10 years ago when they also celebrated their 40th, and we'll be celebrating 50 years. So I've got some of that under my belt. So I'm interested in getting to know all of you and learning what your priorities are for the city. So please, let's have coffee or stop by my office, give me a call. Would love to get to know you. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Welcome, we're excited to have you here.
Welcome.
Yes.
Thank
you so much.
Yes. Got everything we want.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Excited.
Looking forward to working with you all.
And I can vouch a little bit for having some conversations with you that you've got some really good ideas. So we're really looking forward to seeing things come forward.
Thank you.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate that. I'm having fun so far. Thanks.
Thanks, Kim. All right. We will move to public invited to be heard, limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Statements shall be related to an item previously addressed by council during the meeting. Okay, no one. Then we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you.